Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar today about the H-2A Migrant Farm Worker Program. We have a really exciting group of presenters with us today. So we have the Director of Diaspora and Development from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Gerardo Perez. We also have the Chief of Party for the USAID El Salvador Economic Competitiveness Project, Mr. Luis Soto. And then we also have the Program Economist and Foreign Officer for USAID, Dr. Rodrigo J. So they all work with the H-2A program in El Salvador, and they're going to share some background and resources about the program. And we'll get to learn about how this is a really great opportunity for both organic producers and businesses in Iowa, and also for El Salvador's labor force and economy. So it's a really cool partnership, and I'm excited to learn more about it with you all today. And then after their presentation, we also have Jack Fair from Clear Creek Acres Farm in Iowa. And he's going to talk about his experiences as an employer with the H-2A program and how that's been beneficial for his farm over the years. So I do want to save the majority of the hour here today for our presenters, but I'm going to share just a few housekeeping things and a little bit of background about the IOA before that. So we do have the Q&A open today as usual, so each of you are encouraged to type any questions or comments that you might have during the presentation, and we're going to save the last few minutes today for me to read those out and give the presenters a chance to answer your questions for you. I'm also recording this webinar today, and I'll be posting it to our IOA YouTube page later this evening, so it'll be available for continued viewing and sharing if you'd like. And then I'll send each of you a link to that video along with a very short survey. So if you could fill that out for us, we'd really appreciate it. It helps us as we continue planning our education and outreach programming. And then the last thing, I just want to share a little bit about the IOA. So I will share my screen. Can you guys see that okay? Sweet. Okay. So we are a nonprofit organization that was founded in 2006, and we have a statewide presence. So our members are a diverse community of farmers, gardeners, food farm businesses, advocates, researchers, and consumers that champion organic production and products. Our mission is to advance organic agriculture and food systems in Iowa, and we prioritize ecosystem integrity, community and collaboration, and economic vitality. And we have many priorities and programs that we focus on. So one of those, of course, is education and outreach. So this winter webinar series is a part of that, but we also do college visits, field days, technical workshops, and many other additional resources that we provide both online and in print. And much of our education and outreach, including this webinar, is funded through the USDA's Risk Management Agency, or RMA grant. And then we're also available to provide technical support and resources all across the state. So a big part of that right now is our partnership with the TOP program, which I'll talk more about on the next slide. But then we also conduct outreach. So we travel all across the state. This includes our social media, our website, our e-news, and other online presence. So we have a variety of ways that we connect with the Iowa organic community. And we're also committed to advocacy. So we communicate with our policy leaders about organic and about the benefits of supporting and providing policies and other resources for the organic community. And then, of course, we're committed to growing the organic community in Iowa to provide support for each other and to help grow this overall movement in the state today. So as I mentioned, a big part of our technical support and outreach programming has been made possible through our partnership with TOP. So we're really grateful for that because it's allowed us to provide even more resources for the organic community. And our new organic farm advisor, Susanna, is leading our organic mentorship program, and she'll also be involved with some of the field days and technical workshops and other outreach events. So if you're interested in being an organic mentor or mentee, definitely reach out to Susanna. It's a really great resource, and we've got some really exciting things happening with it already. So yeah, I just wanted to share my contact info. I'll be sending this out with the follow-up email as well. So reach out to me for any education and outreach related things. And then again, Susanna is our organic farm advisor. So yeah, that's just a brief overview of what we do at the IOA. But like I said, I want to share or save the majority of this hour for our wonderful presenters today. So I will go ahead and let you take it away, Luis. You want to share your screen? I think you might be muted still.
Yeah, thank you, Kenna, and good morning or good afternoon, and thank you everybody for attending this webinar. I'm gonna be sharing my screen from where we'll see the presentation that we have prepared for this webinar. Let me know if you can see the full screen now.
That looks great.
Okay, great. So we'll start with Dr. Rodrigo Seda, who is Director of Competitiveness at the Office of Economic Growth and Education from USAID in El Salvador. So it's all yours, Rodrigo. I'll help you going through the slides.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Seda. I'm an economist, professional economist with USAID. We are the agency that provides all the non-military development aid, humanitarian aid to the rest of the world. And an interesting fact is that we're the continuation of the Marshall Plan that started after World War II to rebuild Europe. So we have an H-2 visa program. This is a foreign policy priority, and it was set actually as a foreign policy priority by both the previous and the current administration, so it enjoys tremendous bipartisan support. I also want to mention that because this is a federal government effort, these are your tax dollars being put to work. It's an interagency effort, so it's not only USAID. We work together with the State Department, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Labor, and other agencies. We are doing these temporary pathways, number one, because it's our most effective tool to curb irregular migration into the United States. And also it's a direct tool to relieve the pressure at the US border with Mexico. Also the H-2 program is done with collaboration. I mean, I will say in very close collaboration with the government of El Salvador after various agreements that have been signed between our two governments. It's a program that is a win-win situation because it allows employers and US growers to meet, once they meet specific regulatory requirements in the United States, to bring to the United States foreign nationals that will fill your labor requirements, okay? And also, it provides work opportunities to Salvadorians that otherwise they might, undertake the very dangerous trek up north to try to get to the United States illegally. So, given that this is a very close collaboration, after me, I'm going to introduce Mr. Gerardo Perez, who's our counterpart in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And a little bit of history. This started basically in 2019, but at the beginning, we were only able to place total H-2 visas because we do both agriculture and also we do all other services. Our efforts in the beginning started with 60 workers deployed in the United States. Today, in the last fiscal year, we were able to, through the project Cumulative, we were able to deploy 445 workers in 16 different states. But I think you should know how this has grown exponentially is that we place 6,000 workers in the service sectors in the United States. Actually, I think that when it comes to services, we have deployed people almost in every state of the union, including Alaska. We're sending Salvadorans to work in the fishing industry in Alaska. So we have exponential growth, but we would like to see more growth in H-2A visas. This is the agricultural ones, because there's a tremendous great deal of demand in the United States. Also, we're looking at research that shows that the supply of Mexican workers is starting to flatten out. And given the changing demographics in Mexico and growth rates in Mexico, we're looking into the future where that source of supply of H-2A workers is going to start grow less and less. So next slide, please. Right. So what I want to say that why are we so interested in this program? Well, because it is a foreign priority of the United States for USAID, but also it's a foreign priority for the State Department. So we're trying to expand very aggressively this program. As I said, this is your taxpayers' money. So the program is costing US taxpayers about $3.2 million a year, but I can tell you that the return on its investment is huge because we're observing, and Mr. Gerardo Perez later will give you some statistics. For the cost to the US government, we are generating billions of dollars in sales that otherwise can be lost in the United States because of the lack of labor. It is our most effective program to curb migration, irregular migration into the United States. I will say that for the 6,000 individuals that were deployed in the United States, we're talking about the likelihood of their households to go and migrate irregularly and show up in the border. It decreases significantly, and we're talking about at least 40,000 people that they have less of a likelihood to take this very dangerous trek north. So it is our most effective way of curbing irregular migration. And also, we're very pleased that we are satisfying the extreme shortages of labor that we not only see in agriculture, but in many other sectors in the United States, like agriculture and whatnot. So I want to emphasize that once you meet certain specific regulatory requirements in the United States, then you can request from us, from our programs here, you can request your workers. As I said, it's a win-win situation for everybody. Next slide, please, Mr. Soto.
Yeah, I think that was it from your part, Rodrigo.
So
yeah.
I want to emphasize that this is a U.S. government effort in collaboration with the government of El Salvador. We see a tremendous return on investment. It's helping alleviate problems at the border, but at the same time, we're helping U.S. producers and other firms, avoid losses because of very bad constraints in labor. There are labor shortages in many sectors of the American economy. And also, we have what we call a safe temporary immigration, in the sense that 98% of the people we deployed in the United States, they come back. And the system operates in a way that if you like your workers, you can every year request for those names and those people that you think are very good workers. So now I'm going to introduce Mr. Gerardo Perez, my counterpart at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and he will give you some more information about how we go about doing this program down here. And then Mr. Luis Soto will wrap it up. He will go how you go about getting the workers and how we'll help you every step of the way. Also, before I pass it on, we're located inside the U.S. Embassy in El Salvador, so we work hand in hand with consular affairs. So this program is together with the State Department. We deal with the visas and the passports and whatnot. So Mr. Gerardo Perez.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you, Luis. I wanted to thank Kenna and everybody at the Iowa Organic Association for opening up this space in order to present our program. It's a program that we're very proud of, and as Rodrigo from USAID was saying, this is something that is of utmost importance for us as El Salvador as well at the highest level. We have support from the president's office directly, because we all see that this is a program that is very beneficial for our country. And it's also, as Rodrigo was saying, one of the ways we're looking to reduce irregular migration outside of El Salvador. So thank you for the space, and please, Luis, next slide. So just to give you some overall information about our country, our official language in El Salvador is Spanish. Our population is 6.7 million in El Salvador, and our currency that we accept is USD, the US dollar, and Bitcoin as well. Of course, we give you very general information, but we always say that in order, if you want to see our country, you have to come see it firsthand, just to see how the country is changing and everything that we have to offer. Our labor force is, as of now, we have 3.1 million people in our active labor force. 59% of those people are men, 41% are women, and 54.2% of the labor force that we have available is under 40 years of age. So it's a very young and active labor force. Next slide, please. So why should you hire Salvadorian workers? We know that the H-2 program is very big. You have a lot of different options. We know that the biggest country or the country has the biggest amount, the largest amount of workers in the US with the H-2 program is Mexico. But of course, you have other options. If you choose El Salvador, here are some of the things that we have to offer. We have a lot of workers with experience in the field of work that you need. They're all in optimal health conditions, because we make sure that before we send the worker to the U.S. consulate, we make sure that they have a certain amount of things that they comply with. So, for example, health conditions, it's very important to us. We're always going to send healthy workers to the United States. We make sure that there's no preconditions regarding their health. We also make sure that they all have strong family roots here in El Salvador, because something that we're always very cautious of is of not promoting permanent migration. So we're not looking for Salvadorians to go to the U.S. and stay in the U.S. We want all our talents, all our people to come back to El Salvador. Why is that? Because that's going to be a little bit more further in the presentation, because we make sure that all the funds that the workers bring back to El Salvador are being used for investments in our country. So what does that mean? That means that our country's economy is going to grow as the program grows as well, which is going to mean less people that are going to have to migrate irregularly outside of El Salvador. We also make sure that all the workers have a clean criminal record. Could you go back to the slide, Luis? Thank you. So we make sure that the workers have clean criminal records. We make sure that they all have no felonies before they leave El Salvador. And of course, something that we make sure of, and that's something that we sell a lot here in El Salvador, is the point that we do not charge workers any money to be part of this program. And also, we don't charge US companies any money in order to have access to this program either. So this is a completely free program, both for workers and for employers. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So how does the program work? So here at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, we take care of all there is to do regarding what has to be taken care of here in El Salvador. So we have 4 phases, which Luis is going to go a little bit more into when he does his presentation. But just to give you an overall view, the number 1 phase is outreach to employers, which is something that we're doing right now with you, just presenting the program to employers. Something that's very important for us, apart from the relationship with the workers, is the relationship with employers. We're always very open to find out what we can do in order to have a better relationship with what you need, and also to be up to your standards as well. Then also the second phase, we take care of the selection and recruitment of the workers. We make sure that the workers that you need and the workers that you're going to receive are according to the type of worker that you need. We don't send anybody to the US. We make sure that you receive exactly the type of worker that you need with the experience that you need as well. The third phase is monitoring the workers in the United States. So we have, as of now, 29 consulates around the United States. If there is anything that we see that, for example, if you have an issue with one of the workers and you can't sort it out, because the worker is having issues with his working time or the working conditions, and you can't sort it out with the worker, you can reach out to us and we can help you sort out those issues. Usually, most of the problems that we have between employers and the workers are able to be sorted out in a conversation. And if you need us to be there as well, we can be there personally in order to make this work for you as an employer. And then the fourth phase is something that we take care of once the workers come back to El Salvador, is to make sure that the funds that they're using are for the benefit of the country. Of course, the money is theirs, but we try to teach them that they can use these funds to start their life projects, not only buy the big screen TV, not only buy the car, which is okay, but they can also start companies. So what we do here in El Salvador is that we make sure that they have access to all the government programs that we have in order to make their dreams come true. So next slide, please. So as of now, this is the H-2 worker profile that we have. We have over 25,000 workers in our database. Here you can see the distribution between men and women, the level of education that they have. Most of them have basic education, which is good. And these are some of the crops that we have, that they have experience in as of now. If there's something that you need to be harvested in the United States that is not in this slide, we're also having programs here in El Salvador to help give them that experience. So we do short courses in order for them to have experience before they leave to the job that you need them for in the United States. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So what do we guarantee? The skills that we can guarantee that the workers are going to have. Some of them are inventory control. You can see the ones on screen. But as I was saying, we're very open to make the program grow. So if there is something specific that you need to be taught to the workers before they leave, we can take care of that and make sure that once they leave, they'll have that experience. Of course, there's some of the employers as well that they teach the workers once they arrive in the United States. We can do that as well. But also, just so everybody knows, the workers that you're receiving are very flexible and they're very open to have these to keep on growing as workers as well. Because at the end, what we want at the government of El Salvador is for the workers to bring back that know-how and implement it here in our country. Because here in El Salvador, we want our economy to grow and our agriculture to grow. And we know that some of the processes or some of the things that you do in the United States a little bit more advanced, but we also want to apply them here in El Salvador. So these skills are a win-win situation for both countries. Next slide, please. So this is the impact in numbers that the program has here in El Salvador. We've seen that most of the workers that come back to El Salvador, they use these funds to improve their homes, some paying debts. Starting business is only 12%, that's something that we want to improve. And as I was saying, if the workers, they start businesses, that means that less workers, less people from El Salvador have to migrate irregularly to the United States. Education is something that they're investing in, and also acquiring a home. So this is what we have as of now. But you can see pretty much that. Can you go to the next slide, please? This is the impact that the program has in my country. So that's why we're so committed to the program. Because as you can see here, this is a map of El Salvador. The program has had an impact all around my country. And here are the same numbers that I presented before. But if you see this visually, the program has had an impact around all our territory. And of course, and this is that it's a small program as of now. I mean, our numbers, I think they're still a little bit small, but they're going to keep on growing. So we're we're looking forward to seeing how this is going to keep on growing. So I like to show this map because it gives a visual representation of the impact that this program has here in El Salvador. Next slide, please. So I was saying entrepreneurship. So this is what we've seen out of the people that have returned after they've done their work in the United States. This is what they've invested in regarding entrepreneurship. So 53% have been commerces, 23% services, 21% agriculture, 2% construction, and 1% carpenters. This has been just a small group that we've seen what they've used their funds in. We're in a process to find out exactly what all the workers are using their money on. Because as I was saying, our focus as a government of El Salvador is to make sure that our economy grows as the program grows as well. Next slide, please. So this is a number that we are very, we think that the program is something that has had a direct impact on irregular immigration. The last number that we have of people, of Salvadorians having meetings at the southern border in the United States is a reduction of 22%. So that's a very big reduction that we've had in irregular migrants passing to the United States. And of course, we think that the program is part of the reasons why this number has been reducing, but we also know that it's because of President Bukele's strategies on preventing violence in El Salvador. So the number one reason people had to leave El Salvador before was because of violence. Now we know that the number two reason is because of lack of opportunities. This program gives them opportunities so they can have money and not have to migrate irregularly. So we always like to mention this number because this is something that the program is benefiting El Salvador in a direct way. Next slide, please.
Yeah, I think that was it from your part, Gerardo.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I just wanted to finish once again thanking the Iowa Organic Association for the space. I want to thank everybody that uses the H2 program because, as everybody says, this is a win-win situation. You receive good workers, very good workers, and we receive remittances, we receive funds, and we prevent irregular immigration. So if you keep on using the H2 program, this is something that benefits both countries. So I'm open to questions when the presentation ends. And once again, thank you. I think we have a video that,
yes.
Of course, I love to talk about the program, but I think there is something that you can hear directly from the workers firsthand. So please, Luis.
Normalmente entramos a trabajar siempre en la madrugada, 2 de la madrugada. La misma compañía los llevan al área del trabajo donde vamos a ir. Llegamos al área de trabajo, nos preparamos, nos ponemos el equipo, seguimos todos los pasos de inocuidad que debemos de seguir, de prepararnos.
4, 5,
Luego hacemos los ejercicios de calentamiento del cuerpo para entrar a trabajar. Comenzamos al corte de lechuga de bola.
Based with my experience working with the H-2A program with the country of El Salvador, the company have accomplished our goals by bringing the people from El Salvador because what we expected, it's 100% accomplished. The workers are the best, especially from the skills that they show, from behavior, from attendance. And I expect to bring more in the future because what we got from them is the best.
Aquí se trabaja el ginseng y ahorita estamos en la cosecha de la semilla, que aquí se encarga del sembrado, el cuidado de la planta y la cosecha ya de semilla y también la cosecha ya de la raíz.
We've been very happy with the workers from El Salvador. Quality of work, the ease of the H-2A process, the motivation of the workers made us able to, invite them to return again, right? So the fact that we invited these workers to return and continued with a second year, and we plan to continue after this year, that is a strong indication that we're very pleased with the outcome in the process. So we're happy. Would I recommend other companies to consider the USAID program in El Salvador? I would without hesitation. They've been very helpful They make the process very simple and efficient. There's not much I have to worry about as HR manager, so the project managers handle all the details, and it's been a pleasure to work with them. It's been very easy.
Okay, we wanted to give you the opportunity to hear directly from other U.S. employers that has hired Salvadoran workers for the agricultural sector. And perhaps the main message that we can take away from that video is that El Salvador is a great ally. One of the things that we usually mention to U.S. employers like you is that once you get the wage determination from the Department of Labor in the U.S., the rest of the process related to finding the right candidate, vetting the candidate, getting their visas through the U.S. consulate here in El Salvador is conducted free of charge by us. So you don't have to worry about going through each of those steps, but only provide a few information that will help us in qualifying the candidates, then selecting the candidates, and we take care of everything else. In general, we consider that the candidates from El Salvador have good experience in their field. As Gerardo was mentioning, they have a clean criminal record. We make sure that they also have good health and strong family ties to El Salvador. We conduct a very thorough program to pre-qualify applicants with agricultural experience, and that include agriculture, livestock, tobacco, and greenhouse and nurseries, among other crops. As was mentioned before, the program has not recruitment fees for petitioners or workers, and especially on the side of the workers, that is something that we try to emphasize, letting them know that they don't have to pay anything for the process. This is a process supported by the U.S. government, and neither the U.S. employer nor the workers have to pay any recruitment fee or anything. El Salvador and its workers have a reputation for being hardworking, entrepreneurial, and highly committed. We have a long and strong agricultural tradition, and the U.S. Embassy directly supports the government of El Salvador. And I think this presentation is a good sample of how the U.S. government through USAID and the government of El Salvador through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have been working together to make this a very successful program. If we try to get a perspective on how the H-2 visa program has worked in El Salvador, as Rodrigo mentioned at the beginning, in 2019, we were doing about 60 workers that were hired by U.S. companies. And up to January of this year, we have sent 9,840 H-2 visa workers from El Salvador. And this include H-2A visas and H-2B visas. H-2B makes up the higher part of the workers hired by U.S. companies, but we are giving a renewed attention to the H-2A workers also to make that program work. We have worked with 390 U.S. companies and we have assisted them throughout all the process that take place here in El Salvador. And this number, 390 companies, include H-2A and H-2B visas. In this part of the slide, you can get a better sense of how the program has grown over the past 3 years. In fiscal year 2021, we did 434 H-2 visas, then grew up to 3,244 in fiscal year 2022. And in fiscal year 2023, that ended last September, we did 5,408 H-2 visas. So you can see here that the growth of the Salvadoran workers hired by U.S. companies is exponential, and we are working to keep that same rate of growth over the next years. And finally, we also can see that we've been able to reach out more and more U.S. employers. In fiscal year 2021, we reached out to 645 U.S. employers in order to educate them about the H-2 visa program from El Salvador. That number grew to 3,000 U.S. employers reached out by the program in fiscal year 2022, and more than 7,000 U.S. employers contacted by the program in fiscal year 2023. So I would like now to share with you the part of the process that we take care of, and also highlight the importance that we all not only give to the program, but also the system that we have in place in order to make sure that you get the best worker based on your needs. So we conduct an application and pre-screening process. Each candidate must apply, fill in a form on the program's link available on the internet. And it is also available through different channels, including the U.S. Embassy website and social media channels. This allows the team to contact the candidate once a company requests an employee that meets their profile. So the first step is for the workers to register in our database. Once he has registered, we schedule an interview with the worker. Once he has been pre-screened, the program calls the worker to schedule an in-person or by phone interview. During the call, several aspects are evaluated, including the matching profile with the U.S. employer needs. That includes experience, English, studies. We also measure the real interest of the candidate in the position, the willingness to continue with the selection process, and also assess whether the candidate is a good fit for the position. Then we conduct a second screening process. The candidate is asked to fill additional data, for which questions about families living in the U.S. are asked, current job, family questions, among others. And this helps assess the honesty, the potential of abscondment, the aspirational life for the workers once he returns from El Salvador. Once we have conducted these first three steps, and we are sure that we have a good candidate in place, we send the worker's profile to the U.S. employer. Once the vetting process has been completed in English, the worker is sent to the U.S. petitioner based on the skill sets required by the company. The petitioner might require a remote interview with the workers and then approve or reject the worker. And this can also be done in person as well if the petitioners want. Finally, we conduct, as part of the process, background check. We make sure that the worker has a valid passport, medical check if required, and we fill up forms DS-160, which is basically the application that is submitted to the U.S. consulate in El Salvador. And we help companies to pay the consular fee that they have to pay. After that, we submit, usually by packages, groups of applications to the U.S. consulate. It takes them between 3 and 4 days once they receive the applications to provide the visa to the worker or to deny it. We have a very good rate of acceptance with the U.S. consulate. More than 94% of the workers that the applications we submit to the consulate are approved by the consulate. And finally, we take care of we help the U.S. company on the deployment of the worker to the U.S. Once the worker is notified that the visa has been approved, usually the employer go ahead and buy the airplane tickets, and we coordinate with the workers and help them in all the checking process for their flight to the U.S. So in general, perhaps one of the main messages that we want to share is that we have designed a meticulously process to make sure that the candidates meet the requirements of the U.S. employers. It is, in some cases, a big step to hire someone from abroad and go throughout all the process. So we try to make it easier and facilitate as much as we can what needs to be done in order to get the worker the needed visa. It's a comprehensive approach, again, aimed at meeting the needs of both employers and workers. And with that, we conclude our presentation. And I think Kenna will now have the floor open for Q&A.
Yes, thank you so much for that presentation, and each of you for sharing all that information. That was really wonderful, and I'm glad that we could all be here today. So before we get into the Q&A, I just want to say, unfortunately, I do not think that Jack Fair is going to be able to make it after all today. So I know that there are likely some questions that will come up that are specific to the hiring process in Iowa and within the organic industry. So if any of you have follow-up questions specific to that, please reach out to me, and I'd be happy to connect you with the connections that we have within the IOA and some more specific information about Iowa. But for now, we do have a few good questions coming in, so please feel free to keep sending those in the Q&A. But I will start with this. So whoever feels comfortable answering these first questions. So the first couple are about like the financial side. I know you mentioned a couple points in the beginning about the fact that this is mostly U.S. tax money that's paying for both the process and for the salaries, but I just want to clarify that that is correct.
Yeah, in the case of the salaries, they are to be paid by the U.S. employer. The subsidy from the U.S. government goes as far as conducting all the process of getting the visa of the worker, stamping their passport, and that's how far we get. Again, as Gerardo was mentioning, through the network of Salvadoran consulates in the U.S. Once the worker is in the U.S., we can help in, managing any miscommunication or making sure that the worker is fully aligned with the needs of the employer. But the program doesn't pay salaries. Those are supposed to be paid by the business themselves.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it.
Okay, I just wanted, sorry, I just wanted to reinforce what Luis was saying. So what we always say that the program is free, because when a company wants to recruit workers in the H-2 program, they can either use these government programs or find private recruiters to do it. And private recruiters do have a fee, right? And that's okay if the employer wants to work with a private recruiter. But the labor mobility program that we just presented is free to do all the recruitment of the worker, to monitor the workers as well when they're in the U.S. So that's when we talk about that it's funded by U.S. taxpayers' funds, and also by funds from the Government of El Salvador, because the program is here in the Ministry for Foreign Affairs. So, I mean, we also absorb part of the funds that you would have to pay recruiters, which, from what I know, recruiters do ask for pretty hefty fees. So
Definitely. Yeah, no, that all makes sense. And thank you both for clarifying. We do have another question here from Ted. So he's asking, what are the housing requirements of the employer and how long are they able to stay?
In the case of the H-2A visas, different to the H-2Bs, the housing is to be provided by the employer. And once the worker gets the visa, he can stay up to 3 years in the U.S. He will need to come back every year, though. But we have cases where worker has been hired for 10 months or 11 months. Sometimes you can extend their presence in the U.S. Going through the USCIS process. But we usually see on average contract periods between 2-3 months up to 10-12 months. But again, the worker is allowed to work in the U.S. for up to 3 years once the visa has been stamped.
Got it. So there's kind of a range depending on the need, but the max is 3 years. That makes sense.
Right.
A follow-up question on that, is there a limit on like a minimum or maximum number of employees that someone could hire, or could you just hire one employee, or how does that work?
You want to answer that, Gerardo?
Sure. So with H-2As, there's no cap. It's as many workers as you need, pretty much.
Cool. So just one would be allowed as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. We can process one worker, or we can process 200 workers, all as part of the same process.
I mean, there's something also that's important for the employers to know, that they are going to have to do certain paperwork with the U.S. government as well before you can apply for the H-2 workers. So that's something that, of course, you could probably help them out with, Kenna, because they do have to certify their companies. But I mean, what I've seen is that once the employers start using the H-2 program, it's a lot better than any other options that they have. Because as Luis was saying, you can have the same workers coming back. They grow with the company as well. You know the workers that you are receiving. So you create this relationship with the workers as well. So that's something very important that they have to take into consideration.
Definitely. Yeah. It's been really cool to talk with Jack Fair from Clear Creek here in Iowa and just hear about how the program has grown and just some of the relationships that he's been able to form on his farm over the years, and how it's even become like much more streamlined. Like it, you know, of course it's daunting in the beginning to go through the application process as a business and all of that, but they've really found a way to make it work and have felt very supported through the process. So yeah, that's all really good to hear. I do have a follow-up question on, I think it was you, Gerardo, that was talking about the 29 consulates and some of the ways that there's many variations of partnerships happening. Could you talk a little bit more about what your agencies provide in terms of, like for the migrant workers navigating cultural differences and the initial changes and just like assisting with everything that comes with a transition as big as this is for people, right?
Of course. No, that's a very good question. So of course, people don't think that much about the culture shock of the workers when they get to the United States. Most of the workers have never been on a plane. Most of the workers have never left El Salvador. And of course, our consulates are always there in order to help them ease into this experience. So before the worker leaves, here in the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, we give them various pre-departure talks. That's what we call them. So we let them know everything about where they're going, about how the weather is, what they need to expect. We help them read through the contracts because for us, a well-informed worker is a worker that's going to have a better, easier experience when they leave to the United States. And of course, as I was saying, we have very good coverage. Just under the country that has the most amount of consulates is Mexico. Under Mexico, it's us. So if anything happens, for example, if a worker just feels homesick and he just wants to get in contact with their family, and of course they have their cell phones, they can talk. But of course, if they need to talk to somebody from home, I mean, our people from our consulates can travel to where the worker is. Of course, we always do this hand in hand with the employer. We always ask for authorizations in order to come to where they're working and sort it out. I mean, and sometimes if we have big groups that are homesick, for example, we bring traditional food to them. We talk to them, just make them feel at home, so their day-to-day can be a little bit easier, and they can fulfill their jobs with no issues.
That's so good to hear, and I think that's something that's not talked about enough with this program. So thank you for everything that you do on your end to help provide that support and make the transition more.
Of course. I mean, I think it's really important for us, the relationship with the employer, because of course we want the contracts to be fulfilled with the employer, everything to be good with the U.S. company. But of course, also our the core of our program is the Salvadorian worker. I mean, if they're feeling good, they're going to be good workers.
Definitely, of course. This is a bit of a shift, but I did want to follow up on another thing. So you talked a little bit about the short courses that you offer. Are there any that you know of that are specific to organic production, or would that be something that might be a possibility in the future?
Yeah, so pretty much what we do is on demand. So what we would need is if there is somebody that wants to apply to the H-2 program and that they need something specific that wasn't on the type of jobs that we were offering, we would have to negotiate it, of course, right? So of course it's going to be free. We take care of the organization of the course. But of course, it would be give us 3 months to prepare the workers, and then we can send them to the U.S., right? So that's the thing that would have to be taken into consideration. The time for us to prepare the course, give the course, and the employer to receive the workers with the knowledge acquired through the course. So yeah, but it's on demand pretty much.
Awesome. That's good to hear. And I assume there'd be some kind of a collaboration where the employer explain, organic production is a big umbrella, but to get more specific as well.
Of course. So we've had some employers come down to El Salvador, and they like to give the courses to the workers as well.
Cool.
I mean, that's something that we can find the space, we can organize whatever they need, and they can come do it themselves as well. We're open to that. That's why I mean when we talk about having the good relationship with the employers, we're very flexible. We're very flexible because we want to take care of the relationship with the employer. I mean, employers have to be happy with the program as well.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for I know that I asked you a lot of questions, Gerardo, so thank you for taking those. I think we just have a couple minutes left, so I want to save some time for you all if there's any closing comments you wanted to touch on, or anyone else, if you have questions for the Q&A, you can go ahead now as well. So.
Well, I think if nobody has any, I just would, on the name of the government of El Salvador, and from my Minister for Foreign Affairs and from my President Bukele, I just wanted to thank everybody for connecting. I wanted to thank everybody for taking your time and hearing about the program from El Salvador. I can guarantee that if you try this program, you will not regret it. It's a very human program. It's a very well thought out, meticulous program, as Luis was saying. And also, this is something that us as the government of El Salvador are very committed with. So, and something you can try. Don't if you want to start small, you can do a certain small amount of workers, and then once you're satisfied, because you will be satisfied with the workers, you can make your numbers grow. So you can reach out to us through Kenna. We are at your disposal and ready to work with all the employers that want to work with El Salvador. So thank you for the time, and thank you, Kenna, and thank you everybody that connected today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gerardo, and Luis and Rodrigo as well. As you said, I will be sending out all of our presenters' contact information with that follow-up email later today. So that is available to you. And once again, if you have any Iowa-specific questions, please do reach out to me, and I'd be happy to assist you with that process. So yeah, thank you all again for being with us today and for your time. And we'll see you the next couple weeks, the next webinar.
Thank you,
very
Kenna.
much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a
you
good day.
all.